This episode is brought to you by the European Coworking Assembly. We are everything Coworking Europe. If you head to the Coworking Assembly website, you can connect with our Rural Coworking, European Freelancers Week, Coworking Symposium, Coworking Library, and Coworking Tools.
Hello, folks, and welcome to this edition of the new and sweeter smelling Co-working Values podcast. I'm really excited today because we are doing a kind of basically Maria, who I'll introduce in a second, and me accidentally got involved in writing this paper on the rural co-working, rural co-living, and we thought, who can we get to chat to about this? And of course, that is Jose, who runs the European Coworking Assembly Rural Coworking Project. So basically, this is I'm not sure whether this is a coaching session or a pick your brain session, or Jose, can you do our homework for a session? But we've been talking a lot about this before we got to this in WhatsApp and in papers and reading books and stuff. And it's a massive topic that's been going on for years. I first heard the word rural co-working at Co-working Europe with a huge bunch of people from the German Co-working Federation, and it's always been a very in-depth, meaty track that happens at that event and in other projects. But that's what we're going to do today, folks. I'm super excited. We're going to try and keep it to about 20 minutes, even though it could go on for like 4 days. So Maria, welcome to our podcast. We first met in Native Co-working, which was a few weeks ago in Porto, and that instigated this kind of idea here. So, Maria, what are you known for, and what would you like to be known for, and what's your place in our universe?
Hello, yes. I'm known for being a very positive person and always trying to do things, always trying to do too much as well. And I'm known as a translator and a mother of two really nice adults. I would like to be known for achieving something notorious in the areas of literature, but I'll never, get there. But I would like to be known for having done something for the planet in this last part of my life here.
That's it. Follow that, Jose.
Oh my God!
Oh dear. She set the pulse, hasn't she?
Yeah. So, well, I don't know. I think I'm known because I'm Peruvian in Europe, living in Slovenia. So that's such a weird thing, right? Person Jose from Slovenia. Everybody find it very funny. What I would like to do or be known for, I don't know. I think it is about the co-working story. What we're doing here in Slovenia. I think that although it is not a business, that might be the biggest legacy that I can let. And I can develop more about this later. So you can ask me questions and I can go deeper into it.
One day I'm going to go and get I ask that question on every podcast I do and everywhere because I just really like it. And I'm going to go and get like the last 5 years of people that have appeared on multiple podcasts and see how I'd like to be known for has evolved. Because some people say being a multimillionaire, and then they're like having a vegetable patch in the Alps is what I want to be known for. It's amazing how people evolve over time. But to our thing today, so our title is co-working and co-working living in rural areas, new shifts and old values. And the bit that kind of got my attention on that is the new shifts and old values. So Maria, what so far in our journey, what would you declare are the new shifts, and what would you declare are the old values? And then we can see what Jose thinks too.
Yeah, so having been a translator all my life and having been a remote worker all my life, there are quite a few old values and old concepts that I see here that people talk about today and that we did not talk about in my days, because in my days, when I started working as a freelancer, remote work was something that people did not talk about or even understand. But lots of ideas and concepts were already there, and the idea of working from home being lonely and also being difficult. People talk about the difficulty of people balancing work and life when they go to the office, but balancing work and life when you work at home might be even more of a struggle because your office is just, the next room. So I think there are some old values here. And also the idea that I like so much, which is the fact that I had freedom to look after my sons and bring them up and organize my life differently. And this idea also of going on part holiday, part work, and taking them with me and managing to do some work at the same time, I thought it was really interesting. And now people call it workations or something like that, but the concept was already there. So I think there are some old values here, and there are some old values. As I wrote this because I was thinking there are some old values in the sense that we need to recover what we have lost. And the values that we have lost are the connection to nature, the connection to other people, the idea that we don't do anything or we hardly ever do anything for our community because we don't have time and because we work too much. So these are all old values, and the idea that we need to go back to basics. And the new shifts probably are definitely the idea of co-working, the idea of this third space that you have, where you can go and work and be with other people. I find it really attractive because I spent my whole life as a remote worker working from home. And what I found some ways of balancing this by becoming an English teacher, which was also something that I've always liked doing. So going and teaching a couple of times a week allowed me to interact with other people and to fight this long time that I spent in front of a computer when it was just me, the computer, and my mind translating. So I think new shifts are these ideas that, and also the idea that people don't want to commute so much and waste so much time and effort and also pollute the planet by going to work. And this is a new shift, which is the
That
result of us having polluted so much. Yes.
that lack of that is, you know, a lot of people know I moved from London to Vigo in Galicia, and one of the I know most amazing cosmic life shifts was the lack of commute. So, at worst I have to have a 15-minute bus ride, but most of the time we walk everywhere, not getting on a train, and it is it is I don't think it's just my stage in life. It's just like the amount of travel we don't have to do is life changing. So I said the same thing 6 times there, but it's had I was going to say it in a jokey voice. It's had a massive impact on my mental health, my relationships, and everything like that. So Jose, what do you want to? I know you do. I know. Ask him. Do you want to chip in there? What do you think?
So there's a lot to talk about. Uh, so the new shifts for me are kind of trends. The old values respond to what we always want. And there's a word that crossed my mind while listening to Maria. It is unconditional or conditional. So it looks like we are very conditional in the way we act. So I do this if I get something in return. But the values that we are talking about are more connected with the unconditional. So what we are talking is about community building, a sense of belonging, a quality of life, a connection with nature, respect for the environment. This is what I'm hearing so far. So I start to think that co-working, rural co-working, should become a force for unconditional action. So spaces where we can decide to act not because of what we get, but maybe because of what we give, and maybe because of what happens when we give something. My experience in rural co-working reveals that the motivation why the members want to do something is not normally what they appreciate the most. So at the beginning, they start thinking, I want to have a space where to work. But then they find that a part of the space, what they want or what they care about, is the sense of belonging, is the sharing the lunch with another person, is being able to be heard and understood. Uh, and that becomes the real reason why they are there. So the word values is definitely something to explore there. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I thought.
there's the my enthusiasm, and just for folks listening, like I'm an enthusiast about a lot of things, but my enthusiasm for the 15-minute city was the idea that we can have everything in, not have to commute. And as I got, more and more interested in it, even just here in London, there's evidence in, like the Islington Council Inclusion Department. When people are more committed to their local area, uh, they feel more connected to it, and magically, crime goes down, because people can find the support they need, and also people think twice about, you know stealing something from someone they know, um, and or vandalizing something they know. So there's a whole benefit of being, more connected to the, you know, even say you live in say you live in a place with like a few thousand people, and if you have a good relationship or you're on good terms with all those people, and people are more willing to help each other. And I have this ideal which I've seen happen enough times, of a co-working space that is, whether it's in a city or whether it's in a local, a smaller area, where it's part of the local landscape, and people don't just go there to sit at a desk and work. They go there to, eat together and do events together, and children are part of what's going on there, and all this type of thing. And I think, as we've been talking even before we came on air, is so many. It would be wrong to say this is the only best way to do a co-working space, but so many of the co-working spaces that I think I feel more connection with are people that have gone, I need to open it. I want to open a co-working space. I'm a designer. I'm an architect. I'm a photographer. I'm a social enterprise person, and I'm going to open a co-working space. And it's not my main business, but it's something that, I want to be around like-minded people. I want to accidentally build a community. And you know, maybe if they didn't run a co-working space, they'd run a choir at their place of worship, or they'd run a football team. But there's those are the places that have that like magic energy. There's Mary, what's the Joanna's place in Vienna called? Is it Danamio 10 or something?
Dinamo 10.
That place, that's a really good example of it. And there's
Yeah,
I think it's her website that says, it says something like co-working is an act, not a place,
it's
or
an action. Yes, not a place. Yes.
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I could have looked that up before I hacked it to death.
Uh,
But that's the sentiment. So there's definitely people who are been researching at a much deeper level rural co-working, but that is my hope. And my mate Albert from Barcelona, who talks a lot about future of work and platform cooperatives and all this type of stuff. In March 2020, he said, and he's probably not the only person that said it. He said COVID has already accelerated the future of work by 10 years. And there's all these, like you said, Maria, and you've been working for so long in a remote capacity, and everyone thinks it's a new thing, but it's been going on for ever and ever and ever.
something I
Yeah,
would
and
like to add.
just before we started
Oops.
this, Jose was saying, was talking about rural co-working, and saying, what are we promise? Um, isn't it just a new trend or one more trend? So how can we make sure? This is a question I'm asking myself as well. How can we make sure that this is not just a romantic idea that we have? And how do we go about really set about doing this so that it's not just one more trend? Because we do need to change the world, and it's really urgent. Yeah. So my question was, just before we started the podcast, you were saying that, um, what if co-working and co-living are just one more trend? Um, and are they really? What are they promising? What are we promising? And we need to make sure it's just not a trend or one more trend, because the planet needs changing. We need to live in a different way. We need to live sustainably. We need to respect the environment. So how can we make sure this is not just a romantic idea and it does happen?
Right. So I would like to formulate one question, that is, if co-working can exist without being a business. Part of my perception is that as soon as we think that a co-working space needs to be a business, we create a co-working space that needs growth, that needs income, needs investment, etc., in order to succeed. Uh, in my opinion, co-working responds to a basic need, and that need is uh, to destroy the idea of loneliness. The problem that co-working solves is loneliness. Therefore, do we need a business to solve loneliness? I think the answer is no. Okay, so of course we can make business whatever we want. We are entrepreneurs. But co-working doesn't have to respond to a business in order to operate. And how can I say something like that? Well, because my co-working space is not a business and is one of the oldest co-working spaces in Slovenia. So everybody gets uncomfortable when I said that, because they don't know from where I get my income. And my answer is from my work. So I work other things in order to get an income. But the co-working space is a platform not only for me, but for all the other members to be together, to relate, to connect, to talk, to share. It is not a business itself, therefore, it doesn't depend on financial results to succeed. The success of the co-working space is, of this particular co-working space, is its resilience and its model that is self-sustainable. So I believe, and I'm completely sure that I'm biased, that if we want to change the world, we need to change our point of view. We need to see that some of the activities and initiatives that we take are not there to pay our bills, are there to support ourselves. And I'm completely sure also that the same idea of business started with the intention of helping or supporting each other. It was not made to become rich or more powerful. It was, I suppose, it was a way of making commerce more effective, more efficient. So, how do we do to not be to for co-working to not be just another trend?
Yeah, that's a very interesting idea. Um, and also the idea that is explored in a new book, published recently, called Out of Office. That the idea that, by working remotely and stopping these long and tiring commutes, people find more time for the community and for themselves and to change their lives. And I think a lot of people have found this, and that's why there are concept terms like the Great Resignation, and the fact that people are so unsatisfied at work. Also, people talking about quiet quitting, which are new. These are new shifts, probably, or maybe quiet quitting is not such a new shift. Maybe it's always been there, but definitely the Great Resignation movement, people leaving the office and changing the way they work and live, is part of this as well. And the idea of the cooperative is really interesting, Jose. I need to explore that.
I think that we already proved it. I think that co-working is lasting for many years precisely because it found that the co-working members need a sense of community. So I think it is not going to fail, and I think that we are not going to be the uh, the most important uh, I don't know action to change the world, but I'm completely sure that we're going to be uh, part of the ecosystem that solves the problems that we want to solve today.
I think what's happened is the horror and confusion and desperation that came about because of the pandemic um, amplified amplified a lot of good things and amplified a lot of bad things. It amplified, mental health because finally, so many people were struggling with their mental health, being at home and being isolated. It projected that into enough people said maybe we should be talking about this a bit more, and all the quiet quitting and great resignation. There's definitely a lot of media hype around that, and people love talking about that on LinkedIn. But because so many people are talking about it, it's made people think, oh, maybe I don't have to do this all my life. Maybe I don't have to work in this, like drab office that I think is what I should be doing because no one's ever, alerted me or given me permission to do anything else. And there's one of the other things I always need to find a way to put in here is we'll put a link in the show notes to the Out of Office book, and also there's Scott Galloway, who's a professor at NYC Stern, documents a lot of this stuff, and he pointed out in his book post Corona, I think it's called, which was end of 2020. So when we and he said most of the jobs that can be done just with a computer, or most of the jobs that pay over £100,000 a year or $100,000 a year, can be done, anywhere. And all the remote work is quite a privileged thing, and it's a knowledge worker thing, and you have to have a certain level of education, or you have to know how to use a computer, and that seems to be like the work people talk about, and it's a lot of what people assume people are doing in a co-working space is sitting at a laptop doing work. And I think rural co-working, or my hope is that rural co-working is the kind of place where people can come and do different activities, different work activities in the same place. So everything doesn't just have to be, you know, I'm a I'm on a computer. It's whatever other I don't think a plumber could fix sinks from his desk in a co-working space, but he could definitely be in there, doing his other, admin work and stuff like that. But
Something else about co-working spaces and rural co-working spaces. If we are thinking of co-working as a big solution, it is not a big solution because you have co-working members that are also struggling with too much stress, too much work. So the remote work doesn't mean necessarily uh, that you are in a better position than before. And actually, a lot of the persons that decide to move out of the big corporation and start something small actually burn out. So I think that the idea of co-working is as a platform, is a space where a culture can be created to support the people that goes remote or that goes independent. I don't know what you think about it, Bernie or Maria.
I think you make a very good point. Co-working, co-living are not the solution to everything, of course. but can be part of the solution. Part of the solution, which is a new way of working, a new way of living, um, and finding new ways of connecting to rural communities, which is something so important. What we see in Portugal in rural areas is a lot of lonely people suffering because they each stay at their own house and that's it. So we need to move away from just the individual being alone in a house, or in a space, and try to find ways of getting people together, sharing what they know, because there's so much knowledge as well in these villages, so much important knowledge, because we need to go back to basics. And these people started like that. So I think, yes, rural co-working can be part of the solution and could be integrated in a bigger solution in a certain area or in any rural area.
Right. A friend of mine called the idea of rural co-working spaces as vitality centers. So places where the community gathers and celebrate and connect and reimagine or philosophize. And I love that idea, right? But I also believe that we have to uh, be very grounded and realistic, because I've been trying for 8 years to share the model of Aurora co-working, and it's just a few weeks ago the second case of a similar model emerging. So it is not very attractive uh, to most of us when we hear that you can do a project that will not bring you money but will connect the community. So not a lot of us are empowered enough like to do it. The first question that comes is, how am I going to survive if I do something like that? Who is going to pay my salary if I start something like this? And maybe we need to focus on that, right? So which are the new emerging business models that are available for people to go independent and to use co-working spaces productively to fund, to create new co-working spaces without the idea of going bankrupt.
Yeah, very interesting idea, Jose.
There's I'm tempted to introduce a new subject, folks, but we should wrap up there. I hate to say that, but there are where's the best place to connect with everything rural co-working at the moment, Jose?
Well, I think that one of the first steps is to get in touch with the European Co-working Assembly, joining the calls. We have a project called the European Rural Coworking Project. We are available in LinkedIn, and on the website is ruralcoworking.org. And soon we are going to have a community server for the co-working values podcast. But is I think that I'm being a bit infident here. But anyway, so yeah, those are the ways that I think we can use to connect.
Our developer team are working hard on the on the Discord on the Discord channel. The other thing to flag up, folks, is, and we'll put all these links in the show notes, is a very geeky, in-depth conversation will be happening with Marco at the University of Economics in Prague on the 11th of December, which is called the Co-working Symposium, and it's the third year that's run, and it's a really good mix of academics and people from the industry exploring at a very meta deep level different aspects of co-working in a rural setting, how the people who use co-working spaces work, the economic impact that different types of co-working and shared flexible workspaces have on things, and of course a bit of real estate in there too. That is in Prague in December, and there's a whole load of us folks going to that. And then Maria, where can we find you? Where's the best place to connect with you?
I'm always around on the internet, particularly on LinkedIn. Yes, it's easy to find me there.
We'll put a
And
link in the
I'm
show notes
based in
for you there.
Arcos de Valdevez in the north of Portugal, which is a lovely town, a lovely rural area that I moved into recently. And it's really easy to find me. I'm also the ambassador for Portugal of the European Rural Coworking Project. So it's easy to find me through that organization too.
Ace. Thanks very much, folks. And everyone, if you go to the, we had a little glitch in our website, so by the time you listen to this, it should be back. But if you go to coworkingassembly.eu, there's everything Coworking Europe on there. And if we send a weekly newsletter, which is blogs, stories, events, podcasts, and everything else that's going on, including the soon to be, I think it's the 10th of May next year, is the European Coworking Day, which is an initiative from Claudius from Cowork in Spain. And that was part of a big unconference session at Coworking Europe in Amsterdam last week. So everyone joined in on that. Well, not everyone, obviously, because that'll be thousands of people, but we hope that thousands of people will join in that on the 10th of May. And thank you for your time and attention today. Be careful out there. It is a jungle.
Thank you.